What's happening, everyone? Wolf 94, and this has been a topic that's been on my mind for many years that I always thought to myself, and I never had the chance to talk about really since I wasn't doing, these types of YouTube videos back then. But it's something that I still strongly believe in, even after all these years, with fairy Pokemon. When they got introduced in X and Y, in the games and in the TCG, the changes they brought, I feel like I don't hate fairy Pokemon. I like fairy Pokemon. I think they're great. They're cool. They were a great addition. But the way they were designed, I feel like their concept is kind of flawed. The way they were implemented in the TCG and in the video games. So the idea behind fairy types, a lot of people uh, like to think was they were introduced to balance out dragon type Pokemon. Because dragon type Pokemon in the games, I'm not really sure about the VGC, but in the Smogon single uh, ban lists and stuff, dragon Pokemon have always been amazing and great. Well, in the past at least. Now they're not as good as they used to be because of fairy types, of course. And I feel like people look at it the wrong way. Now, dragon Pokemon, they were great, but not necessarily because the dragon type is great. So the dragon type before, you know, it's a good type defensively, resists four types, water, grass, fire, and electric. I was going to say lightning, but yeah. And didn't have, nothing really resisted it besides steel. But it also only hit itself for weakness. So, it's a good type, but it's not as amazing as people made it out to be. The reason why I feel like people thought dragon Pokemon were broken and why they were actually kind of broken was because of most of the dragon Pokemon, the dragon candidates, let's say, what they were. Most dragon Pokemon were just very powerful in general, and it helped that they had the benefit of being dragon Pokemon, not having shit resist them. But it was really their stats and just all the other good things in totality. Like Pokemon like Salamence, Garchomp, Dragonite, they were just broken Pokemon in general. It wasn't just because of the type. Uh, if you were to remove, uh, these super strong Pokemon that eventually went Ubers in singles, like we had Garchomp and then it was Salamence, then in Black and White, I don't remember what happened, but they were still broken. Uh, if you were to remove them and just leave a bunch of Pokemon like Altaria and Drugidon and even Flygon and maybe Haxorus. Haxorus is actually very good, but you get what I'm saying. We get what I'm saying. Some of the more weaker dragons that don't have that sort of didn't have that unlimited coverage, that nothing is really a safe counter. They wouldn't be as threatening as Salamence and Garchomp and that shit, uh, because that those Pokemon were just amazing in general. It just so happens that a lot of the Dragon Pokemon were Suit Legends, meaning they have 600 stat totals, and they've got all these coverage moves and shit, and that contributes to them being broken. Now, I will say that, of course, uh, the Dragon offensively needed some regulation. For example, just having something like steel resisting it wasn't enough. I'm going to agree to that. So yeah, fairies could have been a great addition. But it just seems that when fairies got introduced, they weakened dragons completely. They didn't really give them any plus. And created another like broken type. Like fairy now is the new dragon kind of thing. Because they're good offensively, they're great defensively, and it's cool that they're weak to poison and steel. Give that little variety. And before you guys say this, because I know you guys are going to say this, I know that the type chart isn't 100% fair anyway. It isn't meant to be 100% fair. But that's the thing is, when they introduced fairy, it was their chance to kind of balance things out in a good way. And they came close, they didn't exactly do everything right, in my opinion. Uh, for me, all the types, even though they might have advantages and disadvantages when it comes to other types, they have little things that are kind of like exclusive to them, like grass, they have the draining attacks and they have other tricks exclusive to them. Poison Pokemon got the poison, fire got the burn, and what have you. And then you got other types like ice, but they don't have much shit. Like, so with fairies, they made uh, them immune to dragon, resist dark, fighting, and bug. Now, those kind of make sense, but what they should have done, in my opinion, is make them at least resist dragon. That still would have been a resistance, okay? And either not make them this good offensively, or give them, yeah, just give them more Pokemon that resist them. Like, I feel like Ice was the perfect opportunity uh, to do something with Ice as well. Ice should have resisted Fairy, because then, you make Ice a little bit better, which is horrible defensively. And it kind of makes sense when you think about it. It's not that far-fetched that, Ice Pokemon, cold shit would resist Fairy. Since, I mean, Fire resists Fairy. But, like, the way it is just Fairy has is good offensively and great defensively, and it didn't exactly like fix shit. Uh, the same with the TCG, man. When in my opinion, they kind of fucked up when they introduced Dragon Pokemon and Dragon's Exalted and Dragon's Vault as well. They should have made uh, basic Dragon Energy as well. I mean, they gave us basic Fairy Energy, so I don't understand why they didn't do the same with a basic Dragon Energy. So that was one of the things. They didn't do that, but the dragons were weak to every dragon, so they had that kind of thing. It was fair. But then when Fairy Pokemon came out, they made all dragons, or most dragons, weak to Fairy. But, dragons didn't hit shit for weakness. Like, now dragon cards in the TCG, they don't hit anything for weakness. And it's actually difficult because most dragon Pokemon cards, they need maybe two types of basic energy to work with their attacks. And that's already kind of bad. And, when you have this kind of shit, you're supposed to make the cards better at least. Like, if it needs like maybe fire and water energy for an attack to work, make it good at least. But they weren't really good, and maybe even worse. Now, there's been exceptions, like Rayquaza, but that's only because Rayquaza cards have always been like amazing. He has that uh, unlimited, ceiling with his attacks, killing everything in one hit. And it's not actually, it's actually still hard for that guy too, because he always needs like a support guy to work. He can't work on its own a lot of the times. But this is what they should have done. The only thing they had that they were going in the right direction was when they released Double Dragon Energy and Roaring Skies. But that rotated out, and that wasn't exactly enough. You know, I'm pretty sure people would rather have basic Dragon Energy and just the Dragon Pokemon working with the Dragon Energy like other Pokemon work instead. Now, that doesn't look very cool. I know, it's cool when you got Pokemon like Salamence that need fire and water energy to work and that kind of shit. But it makes the Pokemon suck. It makes them difficult to work, honestly. And to be honest, that's not even the biggest issue. The issue is the weakness. Uh, it's quite unfair, Dragon Pokemon really just don't hit anything for weakness. Now, at least, with normal Pokemon, colorless Pokemon, uh, they usually can work with any energy, so they're kind of flexible in that regard. But I just feel like these are some of the flaws that just they didn't design them. They had the chance to uh, just make things close to perfect, I feel like, and they kind of missed the mark. Like Ice, it would have been great if it resisted Fairy, it would have balanced things out nicely. But now Fairy is like the new dragon type pretty much, like I've said, because it only got two weaknesses. Okay, Dragon now has three weaknesses with Fairy. That's Ice, Dragon, and Fairy. And when it comes to resistances, Dragon is cool, but Fairy trumps it once again because it has three resistances and one immunity. Dragon has four resistances. And, offensively, not a lot of things resist Dragon once again. It only has Steel and Fairy once again, but it also only hits Dragon for weakness. Fairy hits Darkness, Dragon, and Fighting too. And, like I've said, uh, Fairy's got that immunity to Dragon too. Like, you know, Pokemon that resist Fairy are Fire, Steel, and Poison. So, Dragon, the only thing that resisted is Steel and Fairy, but the Fairy is also Resistance, so it kind of, balances out in a way if you think about it. So that's what I feel like. It's pretty blatant, to be honest. I mean, especially in the TCG. Like in the TCG Dragon Pokemon, they just really don't have any inherent advantage. The only thing they had was the double Dragon energy, and that rotated out. They should have brought that thing back at least. I feel like Ultra Prism was an excellent opportunity to do that with the Dragon Pokemon in there. You got Palkia and Dialga and shit. And in general, they should do something or just reprint it at least. I mean, you did other energies like strong energy. You should do double dragon energy. And I kind of understand because maybe you don't want to have a double dragon energy and a double colorless energy in the same format. But, I mean, we always have DC, so why don't you just get rid of DC for a while and bring the double dragon energy back or some shit. Just make things a little bit different. But like I've said, I feel like the best thing to do is just like Fairy, Dragon should have his own basic Dragon energy type. I mean, I don't feel like that's a problem, you know? In general, I just don't feel like uh, adding more energy types. I mean, it makes a difference. I'm not going to say it's not going to make a difference. It does make a difference. But, for Dragon types, it makes sense. I mean, I'm not saying split, you know, with Psychic, make Ghost energy and Poison energy and Psychic energy and all that shit. But with something like Dragon, it would work fine, you know, or at least make them good. At least if they were kind of good, like it was worth the trouble. But it usually isn't worth the trouble. They need a bunch of energies to work. They don't hit anything for weakness, and they don't really have anything that to set them apart, really. And I feel it's a shame. Um, I feel it really is a shame. But I think that's everything. I can't really think of anything else. Like I've said, I know the type chart isn't meant to be fair in the video games, but at the same time, since they were adding Fairy in an effort to balance dragons out and sort of balance things out, they should have done things differently. I really feel like ice resisting Fairy would have been good, and maybe make Fairy still resist Dragon, but as a resistance, not an immunity. Little things here and there to kind of balance Fairies out. Because as you guys know, I mean, I don't really play uh, Pokemon competitively in the video games anymore. I don't have time, and with all the shit going on. But uh, I do know that Fairy Pokemon are kind of the shit. Pokemon like Tapu Fini, which are water fairy Pokemon, are top shit, because of that combination. And just anything that has fairy in it, even a terrible defensive type like Psychic combined with fairy, has proven to be good shit. So anything that has fairy is bound to be kind of decent. Like, it's just a great type overall. Great defensively, great offensively too. Can hit key things for weakness and only two weaknesses. It's just pretty cool overall. And there's kind of favoritism too because when X and Y came out, moves that did 95 base damage like Thunderbolt, Surf, Ice Beam, all that shit, Flamethrower, They made that base to 90, but then with Moonblast they kept it to 95. They introduced that attack as a 95 base attack, so I don't know what's up with that. Now, yeah, Dragon Pokemon have shit like Draco Meteor and that shit, but they weakened that too. And it was basically the combination of these strong fucking attacks on strong fucking offensive Pokemon like Salamence and Dragonite and Garchomp, with Outrage and all that shit. The combination between such strong base attacks with the same type attack bonus and, choice items and stuff like that, when there weren't really a lot of Pokemon, to resist Dragon, it was only Steel. That was kind of the unfairness, you know. It's not like that the Dragon type has a billions of other merits. Like, it only hits one thing for weakness, okay? It has a couple of resistances, okay, but that's basically it. It was just amazing offensively, and all they needed is to just balance that out a little bit. But with fairies, uh, they gave it another Pokemon to hit for weakness. They weakened things like Draco Meteor, and yeah, they just made fairy broken pretty much. But that's just my thoughts. I really just feel sorry for Ice as well. Ice is one of my favorite types. I used to run Hail teams and shit like that. Maybe you'll see in my channel too. A lot of my old sort of battles that I was putting. I was quite young, but uh, yeah, I used to use Hail, and it really is sad. I mean, Ice became much better with Alolan Ninetales, and giving us a Slush Rush and these kinds of cool abilities and shit. But still, like that defensive disadvantage they have is just too great. I feel like if they made them resist Fairy, it would have been very good. It would have been like they have 4 weaknesses, 2 resistances. They have the other, ice benefits too. It would have been kind of balanced out. It would have been good. But that's my thoughts, guys. Uh, Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm sure a lot of you guys might disagree. Don't get me wrong, I do love fairy Pokemon. I love using fairy Pokemon, of course. I love, the concept. It makes a lot of sense, and they're cool. But I just feel like they weren't designed completely right. I would have made things differently at least. But that's it. SaberWolf94. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys subscribe. Leave a like. Share this with your friends. And get the conversation going. Tell me what you guys think. If you agree, you disagree. Anything pretty much. And maybe we can get some good, discussions going. I guess maybe analyze this deeper. If you really feel like there's flaws in my arguments, just try to tell me. I'm not against that. But anyways, guys, SaberWolf94, and what's up?